Ricky Stenhouse Jr. wins the Daytona 500. Who had that on their 2023 bingo board? Not me. All right, let's talk about it. Coming up next. What is going on, everybody? All right, the Daytona 500 is over. Quite a few things to talk about, but first things first, Ricky Stenhouse for JTG Doherty Racing wins the race. Nobody really saw that coming. We know he's fast at super speedways, but I didn't see one single person picking, even in sort of their outlier thing, for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. to win. So good win for him. Huge win for JTG Doherty Racing. And that's the first time a single car team has won since 2011 when Trevor Bayne did it, and before him 2002 with Ward Burton. So in the last 20 or so years, only 3 single car teams have been able to win the Daytona 500, but it shows that it is still capable. And I think the only times before that were like 94 and 95 with Morgan McClure, with Sterling Marlin driving that number 4 Kodak car. So big deal that a single car team is still able to win the Daytona 500. Still in the year 2023, right? So as technical and as expensive as NASCAR has gotten, it is still cool to see a single car team be able to pull off the victory. It also gives Brad Daugherty some bragging rights over Michael Jordan, because now JTG Doherty, the team that he is part owner of, has a Daytona 500 ring. So when they're out on the golf course, he will have those bragging rights, and they will do a little bit of junk talking over that. Before we go on with the video, I'd like to thank my sponsor. Yeah, just kidding. But the sponsors, the commercials, that was another thing I wanted to talk about. There were 24 commercial breaks overall, 25, 26, at least from my count. I was just sort of counting them by myself, not an official count or anything like that. And if you put those at about, I think somebody told me they were about 2.5 to 3 minutes. So even if you go to the low side of that, 2.5 minutes, where your screen was either fully covered or partially covered with the side-by-side stuff, that is a little bit over an hour's worth of commercials, because there were 4 commercials per block. So that was about an hour and some change worth of commercials and about probably a 3-hour or so race. So 1/3 of your race was covered by commercials, and it was the biggest topic of the Daytona 500 outside of Ricky Stenhouse winning. And of course, the other thing I wanted to talk about was the cautions. The cautions, it ran pretty clean for a long time, but once the cautions started coming out, it came down to the end of it, and there were green and white checkers, and a lot of people started questioning the green and white checkers, how many times you should do it or redo the overtimes, whatever you want to call them. So that became a point of contention as well, especially because of the fact that the race was not ended at the start-finish line. The race was ended with a NASCAR call, and whenever there's a judgment call, and NASCAR, to be honest, doesn't want to make these calls ever, but there's not really a whole lot of transparency, because the moment of caution is just something that NASCAR can sort of fiddle and finagle with. So a lot of Joey Logano fans were going to taking NASCAR to task over that, because they were like, when can you prove the moment of caution happened? NASCAR actually kind of, for the better off of the sport, needs to go to something where, like, as soon as you see the yellow lights, that is the official end of the race. That would help it be more transparent for fans in the stands, because if you're a Joey Logano fan, you're probably feeling like, hey, they stole this one from us. Same thing in the Xfinity race. Austin Hill fans were super happy. Dale Jr. Motorsports fans, Justin Allgaier fans were unhappy because, when did the actual moment of caution come? So there were 2 races here that were basically decided by NASCAR. So there were a lot of people that wanted to see some transparency on this issue. But unfortunately, the 2 biggest things biggest things out of the 3 that we're talking about are negatives. But I'm going to focus on the positive of Ricky Stenhouse and a single car team winning the Daytona 500. But definitely there was some controversy, as always with NASCAR. Way too many commercials. In this age of streaming and stuff like that, this massive commercial model is not aging well. It's like driving a Model T against, I guess, a Tesla or something, right? It's just, there's no comparison as to which one is better these days, or a Ford Mustang, whatever you consider a great car or whatever. And definitely, you don't want to see the Daytona 500 coming down to a judgment call. So all of that was definitely something that needs to be addressed. All right, let's get to good race, bad race, and the points. Good race, of course, for Ricky Stenhouse. He wins the Daytona 500. He will forever be a Daytona 500 champion. Joey Logano finishes second. Good points day for him. Christopher Bell ran good all day, finishes third. Chris Buescher gets the 4th place finish. Alex Bowman sort of Didn't see him all day, but he showed up at the end. Finishes 5th. A.J. Allmendinger also out of nowhere. Daniel Suarez caused that caution that started all this mess, but he recovers to finish 7th. Ryan Blaney is 8th. Ross Chastain is 9th. Riley Herbst out of nowhere. For all you Riley Herbst haters, first race in the Cup Series, and he gets a top 10. Travis Pastrana in his first ever race at Daytona, first ever Cup race as well. He gets an 11th place finish. Kevin Harvick in the Farewell Tour is 12th, and Zane Smith is 13th. And of note, Cody Ware finishes 14th. So 2 top 15s for the Rick Ware gang. All right, now let's go to bad race, and it was basically a bad race for everybody that wrecked. But of course, you see here, Ty Dillon, the first man out right there at the bottom. So bad race for him. He never even had a chance. His engine expired on lap 28 or something, somewhere around there. Ryan Preece had a good race. All the Stewart-Haas cars right here went out at the same time, basically. And of course, it was a bad day for Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch looked like he had a really legitimately good chance of winning this race if it had gone green, if Daniel Suarez hadn't brought out that caution. So I think it is safe to say after Daytona that Daniel and Kyle are not amigos. He wrecked him in the duel, and then he brought out the caution. Not saying Kyle Busch would have won, but he definitely took away Kyle Busch's best chance that we've seen so far of winning a Daytona 500. All right, let's look at the points real quick because they were quite interesting. Joey Logano starts the season off the way he finished it. He is first. Chris Buescher is second. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is third and already locked into the championship 16. Christopher Bell fourth. Alex Bowman fifth. Ross Chastain sixth. Ryan Blaney seventh. Kevin Harvick eighth. A.J. Allmendinger is ninth. Martin Truex Jr. is 10th. Brad Keselowski is 11th. Daniel Suarez 12th. Eric Almirola 13th. Austin Cindric 14th. Corey LaJoie is right now, as of right now, he's in the playoffs. And so is Travis Pastrana. Of course, he's not going to run the full season. But if the season ended right now, Travis Pastrana would be in the playoffs knocking out Kyle Larson. And Cody Ware right now currently 18th in points. So there you have it. It was a wild one. I will probably make a few more videos about some stuff that happened at Daytona throughout the week. But there you go. There's your recap. It was definitely a wild race. That's all I got for you on this one. If you made it this far, feel free to subscribe to the channel. It really helps out the channel a lot, and I would really appreciate it. And if you're already subscribed, you know I appreciate you as well. If you got a question, comment, or anything like that, leave it down in the comment section. And other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.